covered several stories on teen dating violence. This month is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Joining me now in Studio A, Jasmine Pena and Kris McCray from Civic Heart Community Services. Thank you so much for coming in. This discussion is going to focus on a lot of the resources, right? The resources out there for people who are finding themselves in this situation. We had a conversation yesterday with another entity about teen dating and violence, what that looks like in these relationships. And the numbers are alarming. It's disturbing to know how often, how common this is in 2025. Give us perspective on what you see the problem being.
Right. So even our young people who maybe don't have direct experience with teen dating violence, a lot of times after our program sessions, it's very common for our participants to come up to our program facilitators and even just ask some of those clarifying questions, right? Is this unhealthy? Is this okay? Should I reconsider this? Right. So whether or not they have experience directly with teen dating violence, it's very evident that they have witnessed certain things or even potentially even experienced certain things or seen certain unhealthy behaviors play out.
When people talk about, possessiveness, for example, among teenagers, he's just doing that or she's just doing that because it's out of love. That also is alarming because that's not healthy. That's not the way relationships should look like. Talk to us about, connecting the dots for people who justify those situations to relationships that are healthy.
Well, we want to tell the kids that, love doesn't change the need to be safe. And then we go all the way down to 5th grade and just provide education about prevention, maybe some things they should be aware of, some speed bumps or roadblocks they could run into, and then just make them aware of, hey, there's some risks with the decisions that you make, because sometimes they just don't know. So as they get the training or they get the experience or they're working through the problem-solving techniques, they kind of realize, hey, this might be going on, and then we kind of give them the armor that they can kind of navigate through that with less risk possible.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's really important, too, to incorporate adults, right? Correct. Oftentimes these teenagers are looking up to mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, and they have these role models that they're not aware that their actions, right, their relationships are impacting, influencing these teens.
Yes, so that's what we call those relationship role models. That is going to be the biggest learning factor for health or relationship skills in general. One major protective factor to teen pregnancy and dating violence prevention is healthy relationship skills. So that's one really big factor within our programming, whether it be our presentations or our evidence-based curriculums that we deliver. Healthy relationship skills is a really big piece of that.
I know within your program too, you aim to obviously change this, but you also have outreach for pregnancy prevention. Talk to us about what this space looks like.
Well, we just want to go into the classrooms mostly and provide education about some risks they might run into or some peer pressures or some questions. So we use role plays to kind of and provide with the new techniques. We teach them to use it in live action and thus giving them the ability to avoid some getting STDs or any kind of pregnancies out of wedlock, stuff like that. We want to give them some armor, make them see the value in themselves so they can kind of plan the future.
When you talk about future, right, these relationships, depending on the situations they're in now, could impact their future and what their future looks like. Talk to us about shedding light on that conversation, right? Having the conversation about what this means now could influence a few years down the road.
Yes, so we really try to help our young people understand that relationships and even friendships can come with high cost consequences, especially when a lot of those red flags or early warning signs are ignored. A lot of those long-term impacts unfortunately do include a lot of mental health impacts, such as depression or very low sense of self-worth, right? And as you mentioned, right, a lot of these behaviors can trickle down into future relationships down the road. And it's also, research actually proves that young people who experience dating violence in their youth are more at risk for experiencing domestic violence later on in their adulthood.
And sadly, so many of these situations are making headlines here in our community, right? A week doesn't go by when we're not covering a situation like this. From your experience, from your perspective, what is lending to these situations?
I just think the education might not be getting to the students or the families early enough, and they develop some bad habits that they carry into adulthood. So we like to come in there and debunk some myths and kind of reprogram to choose healthier topics or healthier choices that will benefit them long term. So just don't think about day to day or what's important now, or if I'm happy, just think about what's right, what feels good, create value for yourself and then protect that value. And then we try to have them communicate in a way that they're that benefits them. This is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, and they can communicate that freely without any anxiety or fear.
What are those aha moments like when you're able to break through to these individuals, whether it be them themselves or even family members? Talk to us about those aha moments when it makes sense to them.
Yeah, so we always frame it, right, healthy relationships start with you. Right. So another big piece of our programming is really getting young people to understand themselves. A lot of that looks like helping them develop their personal expectations for not just their romantic relationships, but their friendships too. Right. So what do they expect of their partners? What do they expect of their friendships? Right. And then communicate that confidently. Right. Somebody might not be able to meet you where you're at, and that's okay. Maybe they're not a good match for you. Right. So trying to get them to understand that not everybody's going to be for you. Right. But you should expect respect, and you should have expectations.
Yeah. And it does start with you yourself, right? Having that relationship with yourself, regardless of those external influences. The only thing that you can truly control is you. And so navigating that journey and coming to terms with that is really critical. This is not your first rodeo. You all have been around for what, 30, 35 years?
35 years.
As a company, correct.
Yes.
Yeah, talk to us about the impact, the programs that you have for the community if they're in need of your services.
Absolutely. We have a long list of programs and services at Civic Heart. Just to name a few, we have programs that help enroll families in affordable health care. We have testing programs, wellness programs, a housing program, a neighborhood enrichment program, and then a couple of different youth prevention programs. So that's where teen pregnancy comes into the equation.
And for people looking for more information, where can they go?
Get to the website page, Civic Heart Community Services for sure. We're right down by U of H and TSU on Alpha Elgin, 3131 Emancipation.
Awesome.
So
very accessible.
Yes.
To a large number of people. Well, we so much appreciate you both coming in. Kris, Jasmine, thank you for your time this morning. We're going to make it really easy for our viewers. We'll put all of this information inside this article on our website, click2Houston.com.